Hello, once again, Erdos here, and I am now in possession of the complete collection of Funco Five Nights at Freddy's action figures. Now, you already saw my review of Chica here, but we're just going to take her off the table here because we've already reviewed her. We're going to be reviewing the rest of the series, which, to be honest, not really much differences in a lot of the quality of the figures, just a few quirks here and there. First off, let's look at Bonnie and Golden Freddy here, who have a bit of an issue. See that? They have a little bobblehead syndrome. Really not supposed to be doing that because, as you can see, the other figures don't really have that issue. They're not wobbly necks. I'm not sure if that's just mine or if it's just the quality of the figures in general. And as you saw with Freddy, there are times where certain figures, the ball joints will not hold too well when you handle them. Again, this is a mileage may vary thing because it does seem that it's certain ball joints that don't work. If the head's loose, there's not really much you can do other than try to get it in a position where it won't wobble around too much. Again, it's just Golden Freddy and Bonnie, but again, this could just be more of the figures tolerances rather than a wide manufacturing error. Now, let's look at Bonnie first. As you can see, he has his guitar. A little tight fitting in his fingers, but that's about as well as it's going to get. Posability wise, not much in the shoulders, barely movement. About the same posability as Chica in the elbow, but again, mishandling it will cause it to pop off. The wrists are super tight. Hips, decent amount of movement there, but again, not a whole lot you can do outward. Knees bend decently. They're on a ball joint, and no ankle, no waist. The head rotates, but the ball joint in there works fine, but the stem it's attached to the main body is so loose it's basically like a bobblehead, so it's going to move the weak joint rather than the ball joint in there. So yeah, not much purpose in that if your neck joint's loose. Next we'll take a look at Foxy, who is admittedly one of my favorites of the series. He has a lot more range in his joints, but mine are really tight. As you can see, I'm kind of forcing it. That's not a ratchet. That is plastic on plastic. That's how tight it is. This one's a little looser, but you can see he has a lot better elbow because this shoulder piece here is a lot further down, so that it's cut so that he can get a lot better shoulder movement. Same elbows. The hook does not rotate, but his hand does, but mine is just so loose, it doesn't stay in there too well. So you have to be a little careful with this. I think it's because of how it's cut, because you can see the ball joint is a little exposed when it's in there. So again, this might be just manufacturing. Or it could just be mine, who knows. His hips have a little bit more outrange movement, but not a whole lot. You can't really go too forward with them. And of course the knees are about the same. Again, on the ball joint. No accessory, but he came with the spring trap body, so that kind of makes up for it, I think. Freddy and Golden Freddy. Again, my Golden Freddy's a little wobbly. I think this is just something to deal with some of these. head on this one is a little bit tighter, so you can see it's moving a little bit more easily. Shoulders, not a whole lot. They move out, but they don't move in. And as you can see, the ball joint's a little loose on this one. Bit tighter on this one, but again, they're just repaint, so it's not a whole lot of difference here. Same accessory, the microphone. About the same as Bonnie and Chica, not a whole lot of movement. And the knee is a bit hindered. It doesn't go as far as the others do, but it still rotates just the same. Now with those out of the way, you look at the Build-A-Figure Springtrap, and as you can see, his arms don't go down all the way because of all this sculpted junk underneath him. But he does have a really nice outward movement, but inward, it's really hindered because of the sculpting. Elbows are also very hindered. The wrist joints are super tight on mine. Again, that just might be mine, but that one's a little easier, but it was a little tight. The head moves just as well as the others, except for Golden Freddy and Bonnie. Same outward movement on the leg. Not a whole lot forward movement. As you can see, it just pops right off. And again, the legs are hindered about as much as Freddy's are. Yeah. Not much else to say about these, again, other than the sculpting and a few other minor things. They're really just the same figures, and yeah, the ball joint on this is a little loose on mine. Again, mileage may vary. It all depends on what you get in the box. So let's get the entire gang out. And you gotta clip the guitar in, and you have to rotate his elbow just ever so slightly. Move his hand like so. Pop the ball joint back in. And move his hands so he's using the guitar. Freddy's hip popped out. Again, mine is loose. Your mileage may vary on these, so buyer beware. You might not get a good one. Might not get one with good ball joints. Okay, Foxy, I'll put him back in his pose that I had him in. Golden Freddy, right there. And finally Chica, as I try to balance her cupcake ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. So yeah. These are really nicely sculpted, nicely looking figures, but O's ability is slightly hindered just due to the sculpting on a lot. Foxy is the least hindered at all because he's just really skeletal looking in his design. But his wrist does pop out, and I do believe that's more of how he was made rather than any sort of ball joint tolerances. The Springtrap looks nice, but again, the sculpting just really hinders his articulation. Some figures will have a little problem with their necks. Again, not much you can do there. Just hope that you don't get one. But again, if you're just going to have these on display, which again, these are really meant more for display than actually playing with, they're really nice looking pieces. All you really need now is a stage to put them on. And if you saw my video for the McFarlane 8-bit figures, there is a stage, but again, I think it's just for McFarlane figures they're going to be making for that stage rather than these guys. So If anyone has any tutorials on making a stage for these guys, feel free to link them to me, okay? Anyway, that is my full review of the Funco Five Nights at Freddy's figures, and I hope to see you again next video. Later!